Surprise! Welcome to the first bonus episode. So, while editing the last episode of Culinary Chaos, Miso Steak Tacos, hope y'all enjoyed it, we looked at the footage and said, we're giving out a lot of information on this episode. So, as our gift to you guys, we're going to do a demonstration on how to cook the perfect steak. Enjoy. So for these tacos, we're actually going to use the New York strip. The reason why is it has a little bit of fat, but not too much. Another option for steak, if you want to use it, would be a sirloin. You don't want a lot of fat on this one. The marinade is going to make it taste soggy. Now, before you cook your steak, I want you to take it out of the fridge at least 15 minutes in advance. That way it comes up to room temperature. If it's frozen, then it's going to be frozen in the middle. If it's thawed on the outside and frozen in the middle, it's going to cook different temperatures. We're going to season it simply with salt and pepper. For a steak and cooking, you don't use table salt. Table salt is the little iodized salt that you put in the shaker, and then your friends shake it when they want a little bit of extra taste of salt. When we're actually cooking stuff, we want to use coarse, kosher salt. So, no oil, no anything. We're going to season it very generously, understanding that 30% is going to be lost in the pan once we put it on the pan. Now we're going to use pepper, fresh pepper. This is fresh pepper. We're going to crack it. And if you want to open up the grinder to get bigger chunks of pepper, that's what that's for. Now we're going to flip it to the other side. And we're going to do the same on this side. Now, once we're done seasoning the front and the back, we're going to mop it up on the sides, let the fat cap and the edges clean up your cutting board. And what we have here is a fully seasoned steak. So when we come to the pan, we want to have this on a medium-high heat. On a scale between 1 and 10, I'd say about 7.5 or an 8, depending on your stove or however you're cooking it. So, when cooking in a pan, we're going to lay it down and away from us with a little bit of oil. You're going to see the oil rise with some white smoke. That tells you when it's ready. You don't have to throw water in here. Just look for a little bit of white smoke. We're going to cut this in half and lay our New York strip down on one side. We're going to leave it on this side. That way, when we flip the steak, this side stays hot. So if we were to lay it in the middle, this side is going to get cold because it's cooking meat. And when you flip it, the initial sear is not going to be what it was when you first laid it down, if that makes sense. So by putting it on one half, this half will stay hot. This half will cool down and lose temperature because we're cooking a steak over here. So when we flip it, it gets a better sear because we're going to the other half of the pan. First thing we're going to do, throw in some olive oil. Now if you watch here, white smoke will begin to rise as the oil is ready to go. See all that white smoke? We are going to take our steak. If you do not hear that sizzle, your pan is too cold. Make sure you have some great contact with the steak and the pan. Now I know a lot of you guys see that I'm like really on this steak. Don't be afraid of the heat. Don't be afraid of the pan. As long as you're not splashing this into a pan, it'll be fine. It's not, I see a lot of people like get to a hot pan and they just throw it in, splashing oil everywhere, a grease fire breaks out. You're fine. Simply lay it down and then lay it away, and then just make sure that you have proper contact. Okay, after about 2 minutes, 15 seconds, no longer than 2:30, we're going to flip it to this side now because this side's hot. This side is colder than this side because this side's cooking a steak on it. So, I'm just going to simply once again, ensuring that it has that nice connection, get that sear. Now we're going to let that go for another 2 minutes. And then finally, last thing we're going to do is sear off its fat cap. Just basically set it up on its side and let it cook a little bit on that fat cap. So we just got our steak off the heating source. Whatever heating source you're using, whether it be a grill, a stove, oven, whatever you're using, let your steak rest. Minimum 5 minutes, but based on the size of the steak is how long you actually want it to rest. The reason why you want to do this is because when you apply any kind of protein to the heating source, whichever one you're using, like a muscle, that heating source will flex and tighten up, trapping all the juices within the meat that you're cooking. If you cut into it when the meat relaxes, all of that juice is going to end up on your cutting board or whatever you did to cut it. When you get it off a heat source, we let it relax, we let it rest, and then eventually it starts to loosen up, relax, and all the juices will go back throughout the entire protein of whatever it is you're making. It's not just steak. I use this for all proteins. Now that we let it rest, it's a little bit softer, a lot more tender, and if you look underneath it, all of those juices that I was talking about came out and it redistributed throughout the entire steak. So now you have a juicy steak. We're wanting to go with long, thin strips. These are going into tacos. I like my steaks rare, medium rare. Now this end piece right here, this is the chef's piece. This is what we eat in the back all day while you guys are eating regular food. Usually when we're making a steak and when the steak is the star of the show, we'll add thyme and garlic and herbs and stuff like that and baste it with butter. However, with tacos that we're making today, there's so many other components that go into it that we really only need salt and pepper. And see guys, it's just that simple. Making a steak, no problem now that you got the right information. I hope you guys enjoyed our first bonus episode. It's the first of many I'm sure to come. Tag us in the social medias. We want to see exactly what you guys did with it. We'll throw you in the next episode in the credits. Until next time, stay chaotic.